everyone. Welcome to Awaken the Rebel. I'm your host, Shireen Thor, and today I have someone on who's very, very special. Like, for real, he's really special. His name is Richard Reyes, and he is a friend, a colleague, a client, all the things. He is the founder of the Plus Me Project, which is a nonprofit here in our community doing amazing things. So welcome, Richard.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Shireen.
I'm so happy you're here. You're the coolest. There will be lots of geeking out today, you guys. We're warning you.
Yes.
Richard and I geek out together. It's cute. So, Richard, I feel like, for the people who are learning about you for the first time, can you explain what you do, what Plus Me does, all the things?
Yeah, for sure. Plus Me is an organization here based in LA. I launched it 6 years ago, and we inspire and encourage students to discover their potential by sharing stories. So we're a storytelling nonprofit that visits middle and high schools throughout Southern California. We have guest speakers share their journeys of how they made it to college to try to inspire, and then we help youth discover, develop, and articulate their own stories as they get ready to either apply for college or just live life owning who they are.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it's so cool because, obviously, you know all the reasons, but I'll just give you my perspective. Because I feel like not enough time is spent helping youth self-actualize, like actually learn, like, who am I? What makes me special? Why am I here on earth? I feel like those are questions everyone has. Mm-hmm. And yet in school, we learn about like math and science and history, and we learn about like how to get into a college or how we're supposed to be an employee to make the monies and make the babies, but we don't learn about ourselves, not in any real deep way that actually impacts us or gives us empowerment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like what your nonprofit is doing is really supporting youth in empowerment, in feeling like, I know who I am. I know like what my story is. I know what I care about, what I'm good at. I've now been seen and celebrated by this audience. It's very cool. It's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, you kind of said what we do. And yeah. I think I've just loved building it over the years and seeing truly how many students we've impacted. Over 80,000 kids in 6 years. So it's a lot.
It's
and
amazing.
It's only starting, and truly one story can change one life, and we've been able to bring it to so many, and I just look forward to continuing to grow it because I love it. I love the work.
Hell yeah, dude. It's so freaking cool. And you're so young, and you're the executive director. It's like your brainchild, right? So can you just tell me and our rebel people listening, like, how did you come to know that you wanted to do Plus Me? How did it become what it is today? Like, just give us your story.
Yeah. So really, Plus Me stemmed from a project I did when I was in college. So the backstory to that was I was born and raised here in LA. Learned at an early age no one in my family had graduated from college, and I kind of wanted to be the first, but didn't do well in high school. So I took the community college path. And then when it was time to transfer, I had great grades, I had a great resume, but I wasn't able to articulate who I was. So I think the essays I wrote didn't get me into the colleges I wanted to go. And a lot of rejection happened. Kind of dealt with that, fought through it, got into my dream school, which was Occidental College here in LA. And there, it was just kind of an aha moment where I was a transfer student, and I transferred in the spring semester. No one knew who I was. Everyone had their little groups. And as kind of an outcast, I sat in class one day, and I remember these two girls walked in, and they're like, "Who are you? We know everyone here at Oxy. It's so small." And I'm like, "I'm Richard. I grew up here in Highland Park. I didn't do well in high school. I took the community college path. My lung collapsed a couple times. I tried to get in last semester. I was rejected, but like, I'm here now.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you." And they were like, "That's a cool story." And I think just hearing that, it got me to think like, wow, what is my story? So I decided to put my story together, and I went out to my old high school, North Hollywood High. I reached out to my leadership teacher, and I said, "Hey, can I just share my journey of how I made it to Oxy?" And she said, "Of course." So I went one day, shared my story, and the kids loved it, and she loved it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So before I started my senior year in college, I realized I was only going to school Tuesdays and Thursdays, a lot of time off. So I said, I just want to share my story with as many kids as I can.
Oh, that's cool.
So I came up with this concept, the 10,000 Plus Project. I'm going to try to inspire 10,000 kids throughout my senior year. And I just emailed teachers. I emailed schools. "I'm Richard. I'm a senior at Oxy. Can I share my story to inspire your students?" And throughout that year, I went to 77 schools and spoke to almost 13,000 kids.
Whoa.
I wasn't getting paid for it. I wasn't getting college credit for it. It was just something that blossomed, and teachers started emailing other teachers, and it just became this effect that I loved doing. But then I graduated from Oxy, and it was time to get a job, of course, the 9 to 5. So I stopped the project. I found a job in the private educational sector, making a good salary, but I hated the job.
Of course.
Right? Typical.
It always happens.
Hated it. But I was in that dilemma, right? I'm making good money. I got to save. I got to pay off these loans. So I stayed there. But while I was there, teachers kept emailing me. You were here last year. We have a new group of kids. Come back, share your stories. They'd love you. And I made it work in my schedule. And the moment I went back, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So in my mind, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. I'm going to become a millionaire, right? I got this. They make a lot of money. So I went home and I Googled like motivational speakers, how to do this. And I noticed they all have websites. They showcase where they've been. Yeah. And on every single one of their websites, I went to the list of schools and there wasn't a single one from LAUSD. And I was like, why are they not going to LAUSD schools? And I was like, well, because they charge a lot of money. In order to make a lot of money, you have to charge a lot of money. And the schools that I came from, the community I'm from, they didn't have the funds for motivational speakers. Yeah. And I realized, well, I didn't have a motivational speaker when I was in high school or middle school. So let me start a nonprofit. So I bought Nonprofit for Dummies.
Nice.
I read through the 13 steps and I just figured I would launch it.
And that was 6 years ago.
That was 6 years ago.
Stop.
Yeah.
Dude. That was a good story.
Oh, thanks.
You've definitely nailed your storytelling skills.
Appreciate it.
Gosh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. I heard so many good things in there. Just like, just you had that moment in college where those two girls were like, that was a cool story. And you're like, I like how that felt.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving. And then you had this inspiration to do, what was it, the 10,000 plus project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And like, honestly, I'm going to tell you this right now. That's crazy. Like, crazy, amazing, and crazy genius. But like, without the hindsight, right? Like right now we know you have a nonprofit called the Plus Me Project that is like your living and you make a huge impact on people. So like it makes sense, right? That's how your story started. But I'm gonna tell you this. You by yourself, before knowing the Plus Me Project was ever going to exist, going to all these schools and wanting to inspire 10,000 people is crazy. Crazy. In a good way. You know what I mean? Like in this really interesting way where I'm like, you weren't getting paid. You were just going off straight inspiration. You were just like following your spirit.
Yeah. And I remember, coming up with this concept. No one knew who I was. So I was cold calling. I was cold emailing. First month, 6 schools, like 500 kids. And I was like, how am I going to get 10,000? I think my mom even was like, yo, son, like, we love you, but like, you're not going to reach 10,000 kids. Like, you're stressing.
Like, you crazy, bro.
You're trying way too hard right now. Like, be happy with the number you reach.
Yeah.
But something in me was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And it just, I think really what it was is I went to one school, and that day the director of this national program just happened to be in that classroom, and she heard my presentation and she said, this is phenomenal. I need to share your information with all these other schools. So I think that was a catalyst that really allowed me to get to those numbers.
Yeah.
But everything happened. It aligned the way it was supposed to. And yeah, when I think about that 10,000 number, like it was crazy. Like it came out of nowhere.
It's so crazy.
It was just like, let's try. It sounds like a good number.
That's
and
so
it happened.
Cool.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so fun. I love that that's how it started because it's just such an illogical, fun story. It's so cool that you just out of your butthole.
Pretty much.
Just were like, yeah, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. And it wasn't driven by money. It wasn't driven. It was just like, yeah, I'm just going to do this. How cool. It's so inspiring for people listening just to really do the illogical thing that's following your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
For real. I'm like, let's do a moment of silence for everybody listening. What does your spirit want to do that's illogical and crazy? Okay, that was your moment of silence. Now go do it.
Exactly.
Thank you, Richard, for letting me be awkward and silent there.
You got it.
Oh my gosh, so cool. I love hearing your story. Okay, so for those of you listening, Richard, I have been coaching him for the last 7 months, since November, And so our relationship started in that capacity, just like coach, client, let me just help you maximize and do your thing and rock your leadership and all that cool stuff. So it's actually really fun for me to hear this part because we've never had time to just shoot the shit and just talk. Right. By the way, you can cuss on my podcast. It's explicit. So it's cool. Not that that's necessarily your brand. It's definitely my brand. So, I don't know. It's just, I'm geeking out on your story right now. I knew this would happen. I always geek out on you. Every time we have sessions, it doesn't even matter. Texts. You always your energy is just so good and so positive and so fun that I always just Richard. like every time.
We do laugh a lot.
I know, it's so fun. Okay, so you figure out like you want to start this nonprofit. I love that you got Nonprofit for Dummies.
Yeah.
It's so cool. You're like, I'm just gonna read this. We'll figure that out. And then tell us what happened from there. Like from that point, 6 years forward, like what's transpired?
So the nonprofit launched 2013. It took almost a year to get the 501c3 status, so not much happened that first year. But then once we got that, I was like, okay, this is legit now. Let's figure this out. So I decided to leave my job and get my master's. So
Cool.
that took about a year and a half, committed to that full time. And then when I was done with my master's, I just really felt that there was the potential there for Plus Me. So I decided to commit a little bit more full time and just try to grow the work. So it started by recruiting a few people to go out with me to these schools to share their stories. And then some of the partnerships we formed with schools and community-based organizations, they were like, we love this, like do more. So when we launched initially, the only thing we were doing was having guest speakers enter schools to share our stories. We wanted to connect and inspire and be those relatable role models. But then about probably 2 years in, there was a moment where I started asking the students after I shared my story, well, how many of you know what your stories are? How many of you can come up here and tell us about you? And it was just like...
Crickets,
glazed over faces, like fear, like don't look at me, don't call on me type thing. And I was like... interesting. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know my story when I was in high school, so let me research which organizations are helping youth find their stories, right? Because if it exists, I'm not going to try to do it.
Yeah.
And I looked and I looked and I could not find it anywhere.
Wow.
So we decided to put some curriculum together with some of the educators on our board of directors to really just test it out with one of our partners. And it was magic. It was just first time we went in, seeing these students just connect with each other, realize they're not alone, realize they had a voice, shared, started crying. It was just a space that they had not had, an opportunity they had never been given. And a lot of the students we work with come from communities where our families don't talk about our emotions. We don't talk about our stories. So it's just very, I think, different. And it allows them to be vulnerable in a way they hadn't been before. And I was just like, this is it.
That's it.
Let's figure it out. So we started doing it more. And then about 2 years in, 2 more years in, so about a year and a half ago, we realized we were using a lot of handouts for these programs, right? We're asking them to write their stories on these pieces of paper, but they'd end up at the bottom of their backpacks, they'd get thrown away, and they didn't really want to write their precious memories on pieces of paper. So we decided, well, maybe there's a journal out there, a tool that can help students learn how to piece their stories together.
Oh, that's cool.
And we researched, and it didn't exist again, so we decided to create it. And that's something we just launched this past school year, which is our 100-page personal narrative guide that helps students go through the elements of their story. And when they're done, it's like a version of potentially their college personal statement that they have, or at least content they know who they are. So that's kind of the direction we're in, and it's so exciting. Our team has grown significantly. Our board has grown. Our funding has grown. It's finally all the hard years of just moments where I wanted to just give this up is finally aligning as we speak.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been like real lucky to be like part of seeing this sort of like aligning, blossoming process.
Past 7 months, you have seen the most aligning, which is just even, you entered the life for a reason. It's phenomenal.
It's been so cool. Like, really, like, what a blessing to just watch you succeed. I mean, truly, like, it's just been so cool. Especially you doing work that really enhances and cultivates what I am so passionate about, which is, like, self-esteem, empowerment, confidence, like, self-actualization for people. I mean, the reason I'm in my work that I do is because I also didn't have this when I was young, and I had to really kind of figure out, like, who the hell am I and what am I meant to do here? I don't want to just, like, go through life like a cog in a wheel or like a zombie. I don't want to live an empty life. I want to live an alive life, and that took a lot of self-exploration for me, paying tens of thousands of dollars to, like, personal development seminars or programs or certifications to, like, do my own work, right? I only had that money because my dad died when I was 17 and I inherited some. Not everybody has that money. And I've had that thought so many times where, like, that's oftentimes why I can't make my coaching too expensive, is because I'm like, I really want this to be accessible. Like, I don't want this to be a thing where people can't afford it because their dad didn't die when they were young. Like, I don't want it to be a situation like that. So it's just so cool that you're giving it to people young, and it's definitely necessary. Like, what is that Mark Twain quote where he says, like, the most important day of your life is like the day you're born, and then the second most important is like the day you find out why, or something like that.
Sounds good.
Probably butchering it.
It's close.
I'll fix it for the show notes, y'all. But yeah, like I feel like that is really, I think that's why I'm so passionate about what you do, is because I actually think you're doing the most important work for people to look within and see like, who am I? Like, what am I here for? What's my story? Like, where have I been? Where am I going?
Yeah.
That's like the most exciting stuff to me.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it also clicked for me even more about a couple years ago when I realized, okay, it's not only important to know who you are just for yourself, but yes, the college application, you have to write that personal statement about who you are. The job interviews you go on, you have to articulate who you are, right? Meeting someone for the first time, and I just remember I was such an introvert. If I went to a networking event, I would hide in the bathroom. I was that type of person because I was so fearful of just introducing myself to people. And that's what it's about. That's where the confidence is really built. And when you know who you are and you're able to own that, I think you just give off a different vibe for the world. So realizing whenever I was asked those questions and just how mentally scared I'd be and how I'd freeze and how I wouldn't know what to say, and the essays I submitted to colleges got me rejected, the job interviews I went on got me rejected. Like, it was just a really tough moment, and I realized there are a lot of people that go through that because they don't have the tools or resources to help them truly self-reflect in a way that's, I think, logical or at least easy for them to maneuver. So yeah, we're just bringing it to students at a young age, and the more that they're aware of that at a younger age, the more they're able to gain that confidence and blossom, you know, and truly understand how resilient they already are, because there's the youth are resilient, you know. It's just they got to realize it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, Richard. Okay, so what is next for you in the Plus Me project?
Yeah, so you know, we've won a couple of awards over the past few weeks. We've got some grant funding. It's been an exciting time.
So cool.
And as our fiscal year wraps up this month, we are rebranding. We're getting a new logo, a new website. So I think with that, it's kind of like this, I view it as like this next evolution, this next phase of the Plus Me project's life cycle. I'm really excited about it, and I'm ready to just showcase this new look to the world, really articulate our program model a little differently, and just go out and truly impact as many students as we can.
That's awesome.
In Southern California, and then hopefully throughout the country in a few years. I definitely think it's possible, and we've been going to more conferences, and there are other cities that like, we need a Plus Me chapter over here. We need a Plus Me chapter over here. So the seed has been planted.
Okay.
And work will get there one day, but yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's funny too about your story is that you did have a situation where you hated your 9-to-5.
Oh, hated it.
What did you hate about it?
I mean, just, I couldn't do the office culture. I couldn't do the things they asked us to do. I hated the dynamics, the politics of a workplace. It was a for-profit. It was very just money-driven. They didn't have strong values just of people, and you could tell the employees were just drained. They hated each other. It was a miserable place to be in, and I'm all about surrounding myself with positivity and trying to just better myself with the people around me, and energy is draining.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be around it, and I think even some of the things they wanted me to do, it didn't align with my values and my morals, and I was just like, I was miserable.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you take it home and you're taking that out on, it's not a good look.
Not a good look.
Not a good look. And I had to get out of there as soon as I could.
Yes. Well, good for you, because it's so cool, because really ultimately you're an entrepreneur. You just chose the nonprofit modality. That's one thing I actually really love about the executive directors of nonprofits that I've been matched with as a coach is I'm like, oh, they're just like entrepreneurs, are just doing it in this way. And it's so fun, like having these creative conversations where we're talking strategy. But one thing I do want to say about you, so that everybody knows.
Oh, tell me.
I'm just going to like celebrate you all day, boo. Is that like one thing that's really special about you, and I know I've told you this before in plenty of our sessions, is that you really do hold this like healthy company culture ideal. And what's nice is you're the executive director. So like culture's from the top down, y'all, all day. It does not matter. Like, so if you're working somewhere that has a toxic ass culture because you have a toxic ass CEO, it's not gonna change. Leave. Like literally, it's so encouraging to me to know that you're at the top and you're the one who actually really cares that people feel like they're honored in what they're making for a living and how they're spending their time, and making sure that the environment is healthy and work-life balance. Like, man, you cannot pay for like how much value that brings your life if you have a healthy work culture, a healthy boss, a healthy environment. That's like so important. So it's just encouraging to me as a human, okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter, coach, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
just, like to see that you're bringing that to at least one work environment in the world. Like, I'm like, yes. So if y'all want a job, holler at Richard because he's a great boss.
There we go. Thank you. I try. I'm very, very mindful of it. I try to be intentional, and I think it's so important you spend the most time with some of these people in your life, and it's like you got to make it. You got to make it what it is. I think our mission helps with that. We try to inspire. We got to be positive. We have to uplift.
Exactly.
I guess, but there are probably some that do, and their CEOs don't. So I guess I shouldn't say everyone, but
it's just good that you guys are like that. It's not a hypocritical organization.
Yeah,
it's an organization that's like, hey, we want to inspire you, and we want to be inspired. We're not like squeezing ourselves in here and like going and preaching all this spirit-driven stuff.
Yeah.
I was once up for a job as a facilitator of a company that does really big thing, a huge seminar company. And I had gone through all their programs, and it was kind of like full circle, like, okay, I'd love to work for this company now, like use everything I've learned and have become this legit coach. Like I now want to go back and like be a part of their machine because I love how they changed my life. Mm-hmm. And I just like peeked behind the curtain and just saw the hypocrisy all day. And I was like, nah, I just can't. Like I cannot be part of an organization that preaches one thing and then behaves the opposite. That to me is totally out of integrity and totally out of alignment. And it's just, I can't.
Yeah.
Call me judgy, but it's disgusting.
And it happens a lot. Like companies are really good at putting on that show. And I think until you get behind the scenes, then you realize, oh, this is not what they're trying to make it seem.
Nah, man.
And it's just...
It's dirty.
I've had experience with that in the past too. And it's just
dirty.
Like, nope. Not for me.
Exactly. So many more reasons why I geek out on you. All right. So, for people listening who are curious about coaching, right? Because you're a dude, like you obviously have it together. You obviously are on purpose. You are like executive director of a company doing beautiful things in the community. Mm-hmm. All the things are there. Plenty of people would be like, why does this dude even need a coach? Like, what's the point? Oh, yeah. And like I was telling you earlier, I feel like it's oftentimes hard for me to articulate what I do or how I do it or why it's positive or impacting. Like, I don't know. And also, I'm not the best at self-promotion. So I just invited you here to help with that.
I'm here. I'm ready. Sign me up.
So for people listening, I would love for you to just give your experience, like what coaching has been like for you.
Yeah. I mean, so earlier you linked kind of coaching to therapy, which I get because sometimes that's linked. So I've had a therapist for 10 years, and this has been a completely different experience. And both, I think, experiences that have made me the person I am today. The coaching element, it's really just been around work and personal life, and trying to push myself to being my best self, and also helping me see things that I can't see. So I think, when you're in your day-to-day job, you're in your head a lot. You're in your routine. You see things a certain way. And if you try to have meetings with your colleagues, they also see things a certain way. But when you have truly an outsider looking in, and you're able to just share everything that you need to with that person, they're really able to, I think, just reframe things back to you to make you see things in a completely different light. And that's 100% what you brought at the time that I needed, because I was very comfortable in the work that I was doing. I know we're doing great work. I know, we're making an impact, but we've been very small. And I've been waiting to get ready for that next phase, that second level, to really push myself. And I've been playing it safe, and I haven't really been able to. And it wasn't until really having our sessions where I think getting that out to you and you being able to really push back at me in a very positive and healthy way, it pushed me, and it helped me see things. And I gained so much, I think, confidence, and my voice came out in a way it had never been. And I've been on cloud nine since you've been my coach. And I don't just say that because we're on this podcast. Like it's truly, truly changed everything. So I will continue utilizing your wonderful services as long as I can. As long as I'm executive director of the Plus Me Project, you will be my coach.
Awesome.
And yeah, I mean, the growth that we've had in the past 6 months is because of the encouragement, and I think just the reframing you brought to my mind as the leader of this organization. So I think maybe the awards would have come, but they would have come a lot later.
You think so?
I think so. And
that's cool.
They came now, which is, I think, what is so amazing. Like, it was like immediate ROI.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Immediate ROI. That's what everybody needs.
It's true.
But that's just cool. And I do think, too, this is one thing just has been my experience of like every executive director of a nonprofit I've ever coached. Like when you're at the top, you often you're the leader. So it's not like you can like cry to your employees. You can't like cry to your board. Like, it's not going to make sense. It's not like appropriate, really.
Right.
So, and then not that anyone really cries during our sessions, but it is a space held just for you where you can kind of like let it all hang out.
Yeah.
You can let it all hang out. You can have whatever thoughts and feelings you have. You can like keep it super real. And then we can organize those thoughts and feelings and then choose a direction. I feel like that's one thing I've noticed helps leaders in companies is that they have one place where they get to relax and just be totally transparent. It doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter, like you don't care what I think, and like really, like I'm totally like a sort of like a judge-free zone.
Exactly.
So I do feel like there's something about that, just like for anyone out there who's listening, if you're in a leadership position, just make sure you have a space for yourself, whether that is therapy, whether it is a coach. And actually, will you tell me, what do you think is different about coaching and therapy?
Yeah, I think for me personally, therapy has been my personal journey. Family, relationship, work as well. But I think this has really been about the direction of my professional life in the organization. So I think it's been able to go into a lot of detail of the important things that I haven't been able to work on in the professional life. But it also has allowed me, I think, to frame things on the personal side as well, because I think in order to be your best self, there are so many things you have to focus on, right?
Yeah.
And that's what hopefully what most of us or all of us should strive for, is to be the best version of yourself, and understanding that it's a layered effect, and there's a lot of things that impact that. And I think the first step is just being aware, like being mindful and aware of what is going on. And I think that's something that you helped bring in the professional world that I didn't really have before.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think that safe space is key, and that's something you completely have. I think I trusted you from the beginning and was able to just not feel judged about anything that I was able to throw out to you. And it's so important because, I think sometimes we know we don't fully share what we want to share in situations.
Yeah.
And when you're not sharing your truth and when you're not being fully vulnerable or authentic, you're not going to get the results that you want, because you're totally lying to yourself in some ways, right?
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, It's so true. It's so true. Like, this is totally just going to be a weird admission right here.
We're ready.
But just right. Yes, always ready. But just to relate to what you're saying, like sometimes, so like me and my husband are working through some issues, you know what I'm saying? So we go to couples therapy like every week or every other week, kind of depending on like how intense it is.
Sure.
And what I need to do is I need to talk to my coach before I go to the therapy session, because with my coach, I can just be like, blah, 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 and like let out like every annoying thought, or even if I just want to like bitch about him, whatever, just like let out all the almost like, if there was like a boiling pot, you're just kind of like letting some steam out. So I get to let my steam out with my coach. It's just like my space for me. And then I get to go to therapy and be like productive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I'm not like angry and I'm not edgy, where I'm actually able to go like, okay, I can kind of see what we're working with and like, let's be solution oriented. But like, if I don't let my steam out, it ain't cute.
It's not cute. No.
It's not cute at all. Oh, man.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. Or you're the opposite, where like you don't say anything.
Oh.
And you keep everything inside.
Keep everything inside.
And that's bad too.
It's so bad. Then you have volcanic eruptions.
Oh. I can't do with that. Talk through your stuff, people. Let me tell you. Get some support, because you can't do it alone. No one can.
Oh, Richard, that's freaking, that's really true. And you're so cute.
PSA for mental health.
Exactly. So cute. All right. So, where can people find you if they are just falling in love with your shining personality right now?
Oh, thank you. People can find us. We are theplusmeproject.org. You can also find us on social media, The Plus Me Project on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I am Richard Reyes.
And if somebody loves what you're up to and they want to be a part of it, and they want to like volunteer or donate, like
all of the above,
do they just go to your website and they can figure it out, or what happens?
There is a get involved link on our website. You can donate, you can volunteer. We always are looking for guest speakers to share their journeys with youth. So if you ever want to go to a school and you've never really known how, reach out to Plus Me. We will be able to help train you and get you out to a school to share your story. If you want to support in different ways by helping us just grow our work, we'd love to hear from you. So reach out.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm such a fan. Well, Richard, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for just, letting me pick your brain, hear your story. Because obviously it's interesting for me just because I'm fascinated by you as a person. But also, I feel like for my community, this is like a really relevant story. Just like where you were, like figuring it out, hating your 9 to 5, figuring it out. Like, it's cool. It's really exciting. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And anything you want to leave us with? Any like last but not least sage Richard thoughts before you close out?
Last year was my year of consistency, and I think that's the biggest thing that has brought this year of strength for me. So I think in order for us to be strong, we have to be consistent first. So if you're working on something, be consistent, fight through the mental blocks or the struggles that you have, and just do something, get better at it. And then once you're in it, you'll be able to be stronger that next year to really grow whatever you've been working on.
That's so good. I love that advice.
Have fun, follow your path, and reach out if you need help. Get a coach.
Papa Richard's got your back.
AKA Shireen.
Get Shireen as your coach. PSA for Shireen coaching 5,000. All right. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
It was fun.
For those of you listening, like, subscribe, all the things, and we'll catch you on the next one.